Fearless people don't announce themselves. They get exposed by how uncomfortable they make everyone else. That's the part your enemy hates. Because the truth is, the moment you walk into a room, the temperature changes. Not because you're loud, not because you're trying, but because your presence carries weight. You don't beg for approval, you don't flinch under pressure, and you don't shrink to make other people feel safe. That kind of energy doesn't blend in. It stands out, and it scares people who are still pretending. Think about a pressure-tested blade. Weak metal cracks early. Strong metal survives heat, force, and time, then comes out sharper than before. That's you. Life applied pressure where most people would fold, and instead of breaking, you adapted. That's why the same situations that paralyze others barely slow you down now. Here's a fact that backs this up. Studies in psychology show that people who survive prolonged stress and hardship often develop higher emotional control, sharper decision-making, and a stronger sense of self. In simple terms, pain didn't make you fragile. It trained you, and the people watching you can see it, even if they don't understand it. That's why they talk. Quietly, repeatedly. Sometimes with admiration, sometimes with confusion, sometimes with envy. Because fearless intelligence is rare, and when it shows up, it disrupts the room. And before we go any further, thank you, Chosen One, for being here and recognizing this message. If this resonates, don't forget to pay it forward by pressing like and subscribe. Not for ego, not for numbers, but because spreading clarity and strength matters. When this message reaches the right people, it creates momentum. You're part of that force, and being here means you already know that. Now back to the truth they can't ignore. People cannot stop talking about you, and it's not casual conversation. This isn't small talk or gossip for entertainment. This is the kind of discussion that happens when someone feels challenged just by your existence. When your calm confidence forces them to question their own limits, when your silence speaks louder than their noise, you're seen as fearless, not because you rush into danger, but because you don't panic when things get uncomfortable. You don't crumble under criticism. You don't melt down when plans fall apart. You adapt, adjust, and move forward. That level of control is intimidating to people who live emotionally reactive lives. You also think differently. You observe more than you speak. You understand patterns. You notice motives. You connect dots that others miss. That intelligence isn't flashy, but it's deadly accurate. And when combined with fearlessness, it creates a presence that's hard to ignore and even harder to manipulate. You carry thick skin because life forced you to grow it. At some point you realized that being sensitive to every opinion was costing you peace, so you learned to stand firm without becoming cruel, confident without becoming arrogant. That balance is rare, and people notice it immediately. Very little scares you anymore, not because nothing hurts, but because you've already faced things that could have crushed you. Loss, pressure, betrayal, uncertainty, moments where there was no safety net and no applause. You didn't just survive those moments, you learned from them. That's the part people don't see coming. Most expect hardship to make someone bitter, closed off, or broken, but you came out clearer, more focused, more selective with your energy. Pain refined you instead of ruining you. Many people have been observing you for a long time, not one or two, many. They watched you struggle in silence. They watched you fail without excuses. They watched you rebuild without asking for validation. And now they're confused, because the version of you standing today doesn't match the version they underestimated. You evolved quietly, and that's what makes it unsettling for them. No announcements, no dramatic speeches, just steady growth. And now your presence alone tells a story they weren't ready for. There's something rare about you and people feel it before they understand it. You don't move with desperation. You don't chase approval. You don't over-explain yourself. You trust your instincts because experience taught you they're sharp. That self-trust is magnetic, and it exposes insecurity in others. You tend to find your strength in the hardest moments, often without realizing it. When pressure hits, you get clearer. When chaos shows up, you get calmer. When things fall apart, you start seeing options instead of panic. That's not luck. That's training through lived experience. Pain didn't destroy you. It shaped your mindset. It taught you boundaries. It taught you resilience. It taught you that fear is information, not a command. And once you understand that, fear loses its grip. You've been through real hardship, not the kind people exaggerate for sympathy, but the kind that changes how you see the world. The kind that strips illusions and forces growth. And because of that, your mental strength stands out in every room you enter. People admire it, even if they don't say it directly. They also know deep down that they wouldn't last a day in your position. Not because they're weak, but because they haven't been tested the way you have. That's why your confidence feels different. It's earned, it's grounded, it doesn't need noise, and it shocks people who assumed strength always looked loud or aggressive. You're not fearless because nothing can hurt you. You're fearless because you know you can handle it if it does. And that's exactly why they're watching. And listen closely, chosen one. If you're still here, it's not by accident. People who lack depth click away early. But fearless, intelligent minds feel a pull to stay because they recognize themselves in this message. What you're about to hear next isn't surface-level motivation, it's clarity. The kind that explains why your presence unsettles people and why your confidence feels different from everyone else's. If this message is already hitting, take 1 second to support it. Press like, subscribe, or drop a comment to let the algorithm know this truth deserves to travel further. That small action helps this reach others who are quietly realizing they're built differently too. You're not boosting a channel, you're pushing momentum. And if you really feel this, leave a comment with a number that means strength or clarity to you. Not for superstition, for intention. Because fearless people move with intention, even in small actions. Now, take a breath, stay focused. We're about to break this down step by step, calmly and clearly. And if you're truly as fearless and intelligent as this title describes, you'll feel it. You won't want to skip ahead. You won't want to leave early. Let's get into it. Number 1, you don't learn fearlessness. You earn it by surviving what was meant to end you. They're not scared of your confidence. They're scared because you didn't break where they absolutely would have. That's the gut punch. That's the truth nobody on the other side wants to admit out loud. Your fearlessness isn't a personality trait you picked up from a book or copied from someone online. It's the result of pressure, loss, silence, and moments where quitting would have been easier and more socially acceptable. You didn't become fearless because you wanted to be impressive. You became fearless because fear stopped working on you. This is the part that confuses people. They assume confidence comes from praise, support, or a smooth path. Yours didn't. Yours came from being tested over and over again until fear lost its authority. When you've already walked through chaos, everyday problems don't feel like emergencies anymore. While others spiral, overthink, or freeze, you stay grounded. Not because you're numb, but because you're calibrated. Think of it like this. A person who's never been in a storm panics at heavy rain. Someone who's survived hurricanes knows the difference between noise and real danger. You've been through enough internal storms that external pressure doesn't impress you anymore. That's not arrogance, that's experience. And people feel it immediately. They might not have the words for it, but their nervous systems pick it up. Your calm under pressure, your refusal to beg for approval, your ability to sit in silence without scrambling to fill it. That's not learned behavior. That's earned composure. A question that often comes up at this point is, why do people react so strangely to me? Here's the answer. You represent a level of self-trust they haven't built yet. Your presence highlights their own fear responses. You don't even have to say anything. Just existing the way you do exposes the difference. Another question you might quietly ask yourself is, why does it feel like I don't fit anywhere? Because fear-based systems don't know what to do with someone who isn't controlled by fear. You don't operate on panic, approval-seeking, or emotional dependency. That makes you unpredictable to people who rely on those dynamics to feel safe. Your boldness can't be taught because it didn't come from theory. It came from survival, from moments where there was no reassurance, no guarantee, and no audience. You learned to stand firm when nobody was clapping. That's why applause doesn't control you now. Here's something most people don't realize. Fearlessness isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It shows up as steadiness, as restraint, as someone who doesn't rush to prove anything. That's why your energy feels heavy to some people. They mistake quiet certainty for intimidation. The enemy side of this hates one thing above all else, that you didn't turn bitter. You didn't turn reckless. You didn't self-destruct. You adapted. You refined. You sharpened. That's the part they didn't plan for. Picture someone trying to scare a lion with noise. It might work on smaller animals, but not on something that knows its own strength. You've reached a point where emotional manipulation, pressure tactics, and empty threats don't land the way they used to. People sense that, and when fear tactics fail, insecure people panic. Another thought that often crosses your mind is, why do people watch me so closely now? Because you've already crossed a line they're afraid to approach. You've proven, without saying it, that it's possible to live without being ruled by fear. That makes you a reference point, a comparison. And comparisons make insecure people uncomfortable. Your fearlessness also comes with intelligence, not academic intelligence, but situational awareness. You read energy, you see patterns, you understand consequences, you don't jump blindly. That combination is dangerous in the best way. It means you don't need to dominate, you just need to see clearly. Here's a hard truth that works in your favor. Most people never develop real courage because they avoid discomfort at all costs. You didn't have that luxury. Discomfort found you early, and instead of running, you learned how to stand inside it. That's why your confidence doesn't crack under stress. The enemy wants fearless people to either burn out or self-sabotage. You did neither. You learned pacing, you learned boundaries, you learned when to speak and when silence is the smarter move. That's strategic strength, not luck. You might wonder, why does my calm seem to irritate certain people? Because calm is power when everyone else is reactive. When you don't mirror chaos, you expose it. When you don't flinch, you remove leverage. People who rely on emotional reactions lose control around you. Your energy can't be copied because it wasn't manufactured, it was forged. Anyone can act bold for a moment. Very few can remain steady when things actually go wrong. You've already been there. You already know the worst-case scenarios don't end you. There's also a reason fear doesn't hook into you the way it does others. You trust yourself, not blindly, but realistically. You know you can figure things out. That internal trust changes everything. Fear thrives on self-doubt. When doubt is gone, fear starves. The people watching you know this, even if they can't explain it. They see someone who doesn't collapse under pressure, someone who doesn't beg to be chosen, someone who doesn't need permission to stand tall. That's why they're shocked. That's why they talk. That's why some admire you quietly while others resent you loudly. And here's the final truth in this part. Fearless energy isn't about being unafraid of everything. It's about refusing to let fear decide your behavior. You feel fear, you just don't obey it. That distinction changes the entire game. You didn't become this way overnight. You earned it through moments that tested your limits and refined your mind. And now, whether they like it or not, people can feel it when you walk in. That's not something they can take from you. Number 2, you weren't built in comfort. You were forged where most people quit. People admire the strength, but they would never volunteer for the price you paid to earn it. That line alone explains everything. Your power didn't come from a safe environment, supportive timing, or things going your way. It came from friction, from pressure, from moments where comfort was not an option and weakness wasn't allowed to survive. You didn't wake up strong. You were shaped by situations that demanded strength or punished hesitation. Here's what separates you from the crowd. When life got hard, you didn't get soft. You didn't look for shortcuts, distractions, or someone to rescue you. You adapted, slowly at first, painfully at times, but consistently. And over time, that adaptation became your identity. Imagine steel being heated again and again. Each time it's put back into the fire, impurities burn away. Weak spots get exposed. The metal either warps or strengthens. You were thrown into the fire more than once. And instead of bending permanently, you hardened with precision. That's why your strength feels solid now. It's been tested. Another image. Picture someone learning to swim in calm water versus someone who learned because they were thrown into rough waves. One learns technique. The other learns survival. You learned survival first. Technique came later. That's why when things get chaotic, you don't panic. You adjust your breathing and move. A question that often comes up in your mind is, why does it feel like I had to grow up faster than everyone else? Because hardship accelerates awareness. It forces clarity. It removes illusions. While others were protected by comfort, you were trained by reality. That training came with scars, but it also came with depth. Here's a hard quote that hits the enemy where it hurts. You didn't outgrow me. You outworked pain while I avoided it. People who stayed comfortable don't understand your strength because they never had to build it. They mistake ease for intelligence and stability for resilience. Another metaphor, imagine carrying weight every single day without anyone noticing. At first, it feels unbearable. Over time, your body adjusts, muscles form, balance improves. One day you set the weight down and realize you're far stronger than the people who never carried anything at all. That's what hardship did to you. Your hardest seasons forced you to meet yourself without filters, no audience, no applause, no guarantees. You learned who you were when motivation was gone and discipline was the only thing left. That's where real power comes from. People see the calm now. They see the confidence. They see the way you move through challenges without drama. What they don't see is the cost. The nights you had to think instead of sleep. The moments you had to stay quiet instead of defending yourself. The times you had to choose long-term strength over short-term relief. Here's another quote that cuts clean. You call it luck. I call it surviving things that rewired my brain. Hardship doesn't just toughen you emotionally, it changes how you think. You become more strategic, more selective, less reactive. That's intelligence earned under pressure. You might ask yourself, why do people assume this strength came easily to me? Because most people don't want to imagine the cost. If they acknowledged how much pain builds real strength, they'd have to face how much they avoid it themselves. Imagine this: two people reached the same mountain peak. One took a smooth trail with signs and rest stops. The other climbed straight up rock, scraped their hands, and figured it out step by step. Both reached the top, but only one knows what it means to fall and climb again. You're the second one. Another question that shows up is, why do I feel disconnected from people who haven't struggled? Because shared comfort doesn't build deep bonds. Shared hardship does. When someone hasn't faced real pressure, their priorities feel shallow to you. Their fears feel exaggerated. Their reactions feel loud. Your strength was forged in seasons where quitting felt reasonable, where giving up would have made sense to everyone watching. But you didn't. Not because you were fearless, but because something inside you refused to collapse. That refusal became your backbone. Here's a quote that exposes the difference. I didn't win because I was gifted. I won because pain trained me when talent would have quit. That's the truth. Comfort creates skill, struggle creates grit, and grit outlasts everything. Another metaphor. Think of a tree growing in perfect conditions versus one growing in harsh wind. The protected tree grows fast but shallow. The one in harsh conditions grows slower but develops deep roots. When storms come, you already know which one stays standing. People admire your stability now, but they don't understand how many internal storms taught you balance, how many failures taught you judgment, how many losses taught you restraint. You didn't become cold, you became composed. There's also a reason you don't brag about what you've been through. Real hardship humbles. It doesn't inflate ego, it sharpens awareness. You don't need to explain your strength. It shows up when it matters. Another quote worth sitting with. The strongest people don't talk about what broke them. They talk about what they learned. That's you. You took lessons instead of excuses. You took responsibility instead of resentment. You might wonder, why does my strength intimidate some people? Because it reminds them of paths they avoided. It highlights choices they didn't make. Your presence becomes a mirror they didn't ask for. Imagine this final image. A blacksmith doesn't apologize to the metal for the heat. The heat is the point. Without it, the blade is useless. Your life followed the same logic. The hardship wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Others see the finished product now. They see the fearlessness, the intelligence, the control. What they don't see is the process that carved it into you, the moments that demanded endurance, the pressure that taught precision. And here's the last truth in this section. Strength forged through hardship doesn't fade. It doesn't depend on circumstances staying easy. It stays with you because it lives in how you think, how you respond, and how you move forward. You didn't just survive hard seasons, you were shaped by them, and that's why when things get difficult again, you don't panic. You already know what to do. Number 3, they don't just notice you, they study you like a problem they can't solve. Admiration is loud, obsession is silent, and silence is exactly where they're watching you from. Here's the truth most people won't say out loud. You're not just respected, you're tracked mentally, replayed in conversations you're not part of, compared against when you're not in the room. There is at least one person who thinks about you far more than they admit, and several others who keep tabs quietly, pretending they don't care while proving the opposite. This isn't about ego, this is about impact. People don't obsess over what's ordinary. They obsess over what disrupts their expectations. You challenge their assumptions without trying. You evolve without becoming fake. And that combination messes with people who are used to masks, performances, and predictable behavior. Imagine this. Someone watches a movie once and forgets it, but a scene that hits too close gets replayed in their head for years. That's what you are. A scene they can't skip. A moment that forces reflection. They don't know whether to admire you, resent you, or figure you out, so they do the one thing that feels safe. They watch. A question you might ask yourself is, why does it feel like people know things about me I never told them? Because observation doesn't require access. Your patterns, your growth, your confidence under pressure all speak. You don't broadcast your evolution, but it's visible in how you move, how you respond, and what no longer triggers you. Here's a quote that lands hard. They don't want your life, they want your certainty. That's the obsession. You seem grounded in yourself in a way that can't be borrowed. People who lack that inner anchor become fascinated by anyone who has it. Another image. Picture someone watching a chess match where one player keeps making calm, unexpected moves. No panic, no rush, just precision. The opponent starts overthinking every step. That's what your presence does. You make people second-guess their assumptions. Some wonder, why do they keep checking my progress? Because your growth exposes stagnation. Every time you level up without losing yourself, it quietly asks others why they stayed the same. And here's the part that really gets under their skin. You don't perform growth for applause. You don't announce changes. You just show up different, stronger, sharper, more at ease. That authenticity makes obsession unavoidable. Another quote to seal it. They watch because they can't replicate what you didn't fake. You didn't become this by copying trends or chasing approval. You became this by doing the internal work when nobody was looking. Some people admire you openly, others pretend indifference, but obsession doesn't always look intense. Sometimes it looks like silence, distance, and curiosity that never fully goes away. They're not obsessed because you're perfect. They're obsessed because you're real, evolving, and unbothered. And that combination is rare. You're not being watched because you're loud. You're being watched because you're undeniable. Number 4. Your presence has layers, and most people don't know which one they're dealing with. People don't get uneasy around you because you're intense. They get uneasy because they can't reduce you. That's the core of it. You don't give off a single-note energy that can be easily labeled, predicted, or controlled. You carry depth, contradiction, range. One moment you're calm and grounded, the next you're sharp, decisive, and unmovable. That duality throws people off because they're used to simple patterns. You are not simple. Here's why that matters. Most people operate on one setting, loud or quiet, soft or aggressive, emotional or detached. You move between states with control. That's not chaos, that's mastery. And when someone can't put you in a box, they lose leverage. That's where discomfort starts. Imagine this. A shallow pool lets you see the bottom immediately. No mystery, no risk. But deep water changes how people move. They slow down. They get cautious. They respect it. Your energy is deep water. People feel it before they understand it. A question that often comes up in your mind is, why do people react so differently to me? Because everyone meets a different layer of you. The respectful see your calm. The disrespectful meet your edge. The curious sense your depth. The insecure feel threatened by your silence. You don't change. Their behavior determines what they experience. Here's a quote that cuts clean. You're not confusing, you're just not one-dimensional. That's the problem for them. They want predictability, you bring presence. Another metaphor, think of a blade wrapped in silk, soft to the touch, but dangerous when tested. You can be kind without being weak, intense without being reckless, thoughtful without being passive. That balance is rare because it requires self-awareness most people never develop. Some people ask, why does my energy feel old or heavy to others? Because depth feels heavy to shallow systems. When you've lived, reflected and evolved, your presence carries weight, not darkness. Weight, substance. Another quote worth sitting with. You don't intimidate people with power, you intimidate them with control. You don't leak emotion, you don't chase reactions. You choose when to engage and when to step back. That restraint reads as strength. People might not understand you, but they feel you. That's why reactions come before explanations. That's why some are drawn in while others keep their distance. Your energy doesn't beg to be liked, it simply exists. You don't fit one category because you've integrated different sides of yourself instead of rejecting them. You didn't kill your softness to survive. You didn't lose your edge to stay kind. You learned balance. And that balance is exactly why your presence lingers after you leave the room. Number 5, you don't chase attention. It trips over itself, trying to reach you. Chasing is loud, gravity is silent, and you operate like gravity. That's the difference people feel but can't explain. You're not trying to be seen, yet eyes follow you. You're not performing, yet curiosity locks in. This isn't charisma you practiced or confidence you rehearse. It's presence. The kind that doesn't move toward people, but pulls them in without effort. Here's what confuses them. Most attention-seeking is desperate. It asks, it signals, it over-explains. You do none of that. You stay still in who you are, and that stillness becomes the loudest thing in the room. Silence, when backed by certainty, becomes magnetic. Imagine a campfire in the dark. It doesn't run after anyone. It doesn't shout. It just burns steadily. People drift closer without realizing why. That's you. Your intelligence shows in how little you say. Your confidence shows in what you don't need to prove. And depth always attracts curiosity because it promises something real beneath the surface. A question that often crosses your mind is, why do people notice me even when I do nothing? Because effortlessness signals security. When someone isn't scrambling for validation, it tells the world they already have something solid inside. That calm self-containment is rare, and rare things draw attention naturally. Here's a quote that lands hard. You're not interesting because you're loud, you're interesting because you're complete. People feel that wholeness. They sense there's more beneath the surface, more layers that aren't being handed out freely. Another metaphor. Think of a locked door versus an open one. Everyone walks through what's open, but a locked door makes people wonder what's inside. You don't overshare, you don't overextend, you allow access selectively. That restraint creates intrigue. Some might ask, why does this attention feel intense at times? Because intelligence plus composure plus depth creates tension. Not sexual alone, not emotional alone, existential. You represent something people want but haven't built yet. Another quote to sit with. They're not drawn to your looks, they're drawn to your self-possession. You move like you belong wherever you are. That unsettles people who feel like they're borrowing space. Even when you're silent, you're noticed because silence backed by awareness feels intentional. It tells people you're observing, not drifting. That awareness sharpens everything about you. You don't attract by chasing, you attract by standing firm. And the more grounded you become, the harder it is for people not to feel your pull. Number 6. Someone is fighting their feelings for you and losing quietly. They don't hide because they don't feel. They hide because they feel too much. There is someone who keeps you at a distance, not because you lack impact, but because your impact is too strong. On the surface, they look controlled, measured, maybe even indifferent. But that calm is armor. Under it is tension, hesitation, and emotions they don't fully trust themselves to handle. Here's the truth. You don't make this person comfortable, you make them aware of their own vulnerability, aware of how little control they'd have if they let themselves get closer. And that awareness scares people who rely on emotional walls to feel safe. Imagine this, someone standing at the edge of deep water. They know how to swim, but they also know once they jump in, there's no pretending anymore. That's how you feel to them, safe but not shallow, inviting but not casual. You represent depth, and depth demands honesty. A question you might ask yourself is, why do they act distant when there's obvious tension? Because distance feels like control. Getting closer would mean exposure, and exposure is risky when the feelings aren't light or temporary. Here's a quote that cuts straight through the front. They don't fear rejection, they fear attachment. You don't trigger insecurity by being better, you trigger it by being real. Your presence makes hiding harder. Another metaphor. Think of a locked vault holding something valuable. The stronger the value, the tighter the lock. Their emotions toward you aren't weak. They're contained, carefully, sometimes painfully. You might notice subtle signs, longer pauses, eyes that linger too long, reactions that feel slightly delayed or overly restrained. That's not disinterest, that's internal negotiation. They're constantly deciding how much of themselves to reveal. Another quote worth sitting with. Strong feelings don't rush, they hesitate. People who feel deeply don't flirt recklessly. They calculate, they protect, they pull back even when they want to lean in. When they finally approach you, you won't need words to understand it. You'll feel the weight immediately, the seriousness, the focus, the intensity that doesn't come from attraction alone, but from recognition. One more truth. You don't make them nervous because you're intimidating. You make them nervous because they sense you wouldn't play games, and that means whatever happens would be real. And real is the one thing they haven't prepared for. Number 7. You don't project lust. You trigger it without lifting a finger. They don't fantasize because you try. They fantasize because your mind moves faster than their defenses. Let's be clear from the start. This isn't about looks alone. Attraction based only on appearance burns fast and dies quietly. What surrounds you is different. It's tension, it's curiosity mixed with intelligence. It's the kind of chemistry that starts in the mind before it ever reaches the body, and that's why it hits harder. You awaken desire without chasing it because you don't need to perform. Your confidence isn't loud or thirsty, it's controlled. Your intelligence shows in how you speak, how you pause, how you choose your words. People don't just imagine touching you, they imagine conversations they haven't earned yet. That's where the intensity comes from. Here's a quote that hits clean. You don't seduce with your body, you seduce with presence. People feel mentally pulled toward you because you don't hand yourself out cheaply, you don't over-explain, you don't lean in too soon. That restraint builds pressure. Imagine this, a dimly lit room where one person isn't trying to impress anyone. They're relaxed, observing, unrushed. Everyone else feels louder by comparison. Attention naturally shifts, not because of effort, but because stillness backed by awareness creates focus. That's the energy you carry. A question that might come to mind is, why do people project fantasies onto me even when I do very little? Because intelligence plus confidence creates imagination. When people can't fully read you, their mind fills in the gaps. And imagination is more powerful than anything explicit. Another quote worth sitting with: desire grows fastest where mystery meets control. You don't overshare your thoughts or intentions. That makes people curious about how you think when no one's watching. Curiosity turns into attraction quickly. Another metaphor: think of a song with a slow build instead of an instant drop. The tension keeps people listening. You move like that. No rush, no desperation, just steady confidence. That pace drives people crazy in the best way. Some people won't admit it, others won't act on it. But the fantasies exist because your energy feels intentional, grounded, and slightly out of reach. You don't awaken desire by trying to be seductive. You awaken it by being complete. And that's what makes the chemistry intense. It doesn't fade quickly, it lingers. Number 8. They laughed at your quiet mind, then realized you'd already solved the game. They didn't underestimate your intelligence. They underestimated how patient you are with stupid assumptions. For a long time, people misread you. They assumed silence meant simplicity. They thought your calm meant you weren't processing much. They believed that because you weren't trying to dominate conversations, you weren't dominating the situation. That mistake felt harmless to them at first, comfortable even, and that comfort made them reckless. Your mind doesn't operate on surface speed. It operates on depth. While others react, you analyze. While they chase immediate wins, you map outcomes. You don't rush to speak because you're already 3 conclusions ahead. Intelligence like that doesn't need volume, it needs timing. Imagine this: 2 people watch the same situation. One reacts to what's visible, the other watches what's missing. You're the second one. You notice inconsistencies, motives and patterns most people skip over. That's why your insight hits late for them. They didn't see it forming. A question you may have asked yourself is, why do people suddenly treat me differently? Because results expose thinking. Once outcomes show up, there's no denying the mind behind them. Your ideas start making sense after they already dismiss them. That delay is where the shock comes from. Here's a quote that cuts sharp. They thought I was slow because I wasn't loud. Loudness distracts, depth decides. You don't think in straight lines, you think in systems, and systems thinking always looks invisible until it changes everything. Another metaphor. Think of a software update running quietly in the background. No flashy animation, no announcement. Then suddenly, the whole system performs better. That's how your intelligence works. Silent optimization, noticeable results. Some are now replaying old moments, realizing you were never confused. You were selective, selective with energy, selective with words, selective with battles. That selectivity reads as simplicity to shallow minds. Another quote worth sitting with. The smartest people are rarely underestimated by accident. People project their own limits. They assumed you thought like them. That assumption failed. Now they're catching up, not to your level, but to the realization that they never fully understood you. And that realization stuns because it comes too late to change how things played out. Your intelligence didn't suddenly appear. It was always there. They just weren't ready to recognize it. Number 9. They get territorial over you because they know what they'd lose. Jealousy isn't about love. It's about knowing you're replaceable and realizing you're not. That's the tension surrounding you. People don't just feel interest towards you, they feel competition. Even those who pretend to be relaxed around you sense it. They know instinctively that others see what they see. Your value isn't hidden, and when value is obvious, insecurity wakes up fast. You trigger jealousy without flirting, without trying, without crossing lines. A casual conversation with you can make someone else uneasy, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your presence shifts attention naturally. And attention is currency. When it moves toward you, people feel the loss immediately. Imagine this. A room with many options, but one door everyone keeps glancing at. Even those who already walked through another door start wondering if they chose wrong. That's you, not loud, not aggressive, just quietly desirable. And that quiet desirability is what makes people tense. A question that might cross your mind is, why do people act different when others are around me? Because desire creates fear of replacement. When someone knows you're a catch, they don't relax. They guard, they compare, they monitor interactions that wouldn't matter if insecurity wasn't present. Here's a quote that hits hard. They don't fear losing you, they fear someone else realizing your worth faster than they did. That's where possessiveness creeps in, not always openly, sometimes as subtle control, sometimes as passive behavior, sometimes as jealousy disguised as concern. Another metaphor. Think of a rare item in a crowded market. Even people who didn't plan to buy it start hovering once they see interest building. Your value becomes more obvious when others notice it too. You might wonder, why does this happen even in casual situations? Because attraction doesn't switch off just because people pretend it's friendly. Your intelligence, confidence, and depth blur lines naturally. People sense that connection with you wouldn't stay shallow. Another quote worth sitting with. Insecurity gets loud when value walks into the room. You don't cause jealousy by being provocative. You cause it by being undeniable. The irony is, you're not trying to be possessed. You're just being yourself. But when someone recognizes your worth, the idea of losing access to you creates tension. You're not imagining this. People feel it, they react to it, and it's proof of something simple. You're a catch, and everyone knows it. Number 10. You're making someone question a life they swore they'd never change. They weren't avoiding commitment, they were avoiding anything real enough to rearrange them. This is where things shift from curiosity to consequence. Someone in your orbit didn't plan for this. They were comfortable keeping things light, controlled, and temporary. No deep attachments, no promises, no future thinking. And then you showed up, not demanding anything, not chasing anything, simply existing as you are, and their internal rules started collapsing. Here's the part they didn't expect. You don't force connection. You don't corner people emotionally. You don't sell dreams. And that's exactly why this feels serious. You don't need to convince anyone to stay. You make them want to stay, because being around you feels solid, intelligent, and grounding. Imagine someone walking through life with an exit strategy for everything, always 1 foot out the door, then suddenly they're in a place where leaving feels like a loss, not a relief. That's what you triggered. Not pressure, not guilt, awareness. A question you might ask yourself is, why does this feel different from past interest? Because this isn't impulse, it's recognition. This person sees long-term potential not because you promised anything, but because your consistency makes chaos unattractive. Here's a quote that hits straight through the noise. Real connection doesn't rush you. It makes you rethink what you thought you wanted. That's exactly what's happening. Their feelings didn't explode overnight. They grew quietly, steadily, with weight. Another metaphor. Think of someone used to fast food suddenly tasting a real meal cooked with care. Going back feels impossible. That's the shift. You didn't trap them, you raised the standard. They may hesitate, they may overthink, not because they're unsure about you, but because they're aware of the implications. Getting closer means changing patterns, letting go of old habits, being seen fully. Another quote worth sitting with. The scariest feelings aren't the loud ones, they're the ones that feel permanent. When they finally step forward, it won't be dramatic, it'll be deliberate. And yes, it may shock you. Not because it comes from nowhere, but because you didn't realize how deeply you'd already changed the trajectory of their thinking. You didn't ask for this seriousness. You inspired it. Number 11, you create outcomes. Others can't explain, and that's what messes with them. You don't force results. You align, move once, and reality rearranges itself. What people call magic in you isn't fantasy or mysticism. It's creative intelligence paired with intuition and timing. You see connections others overlook. You sense when to act and when to wait. And when you do move, things shift faster than logic alone can explain. That's why people struggle to understand how you make things happen without visible strain. Your creativity isn't just artistic in the obvious sense. It shows up in how you solve problems, how you communicate, how you turn obstacles into leverage. You don't follow rigid formulas. You improvise with awareness. That flexibility gives you an edge because life rarely follows instructions. Imagine this. Two people have the same tools. One follows the manual exactly. The other understands the material so well they can build something new on the spot. You're the second one. That's why outcomes seem effortless around you. You're not guessing. You're reading the room, the moment, the variables. A question you might ask yourself is, why do things seem to work out when I trust my instincts? Because intuition is just pattern recognition trained by experience. Your mind has collected data through trial, error, and observation. What feels like a gut feeling is actually fast intelligence doing its job. Here's a quote that lands clean. They call it luck because they don't see the thinking behind it. You don't broadcast your process, you just deliver results. And results confuse people who need to see struggle to believe effort happened. Another metaphor, think of a musician who no longer thinks about notes. They feel rhythm, they adjust in real time. That's how you operate creatively. You're not stuck in theory, you're fluent in execution. People admire this gift even if they don't fully understand it because it looks natural. You don't look stressed while creating. You don't look frantic while solving. That calm productivity unsettles people who associate success with burnout. Another quote worth sitting with. Effortless doesn't mean easy. It means practiced. What you do smoothly now was once earned through repetition, failure, and refinement. You might notice people asking for advice without realizing what they're really asking. They want your way of seeing, your ability to move with clarity while others hesitate. And here's the final truth of this section. You don't create chaos, you create momentum. And when momentum follows you, people start believing something special is happening, not because it's magic, because it's mastery. Number 12. This isn't a phase, it's the beginning of a different tier of life. What's forming now isn't exciting because it's new, it's powerful because it's sustainable. This is where everything you've lived through starts making sense, not in a dramatic, flashy way, but in a grounded, undeniable one. The connection taking shape around you isn't chaotic, on-again, off-again energy. It's solid, stable, built to last. And that's exactly why it feels unfamiliar at first. You're used to intensity through struggle, not through alignment. What's coming next isn't just emotional growth, it's structural change. The way you love is about to shift from survival-based bonding to choice-based partnership. No more guessing, no more proving, no more carrying the emotional weight alone. This union meets you where you are, not where you used to be. Imagine upgrading from constantly patching leaks to finally owning a well-built foundation. You're no longer pouring energy into keeping things from collapsing, you're building upward. That's what stability feels like when you've earned it. Quiet strength, mutual investment, forward motion. A question you might be asking is, why does this feel serious but not heavy? Because abundance doesn't create pressure. Scarcity does. This connection isn't rooted in fear of loss. It's rooted in shared vision. That's why it feels expansive instead of restrictive. Here's a quote that lands hard. Chaos taught you resilience. Stability will teach you expansion. You're stepping into a phase where growth isn't about endurance anymore. It's about refinement, about multiplying effort instead of surviving effort. Another metaphor. Think of two strong currents flowing in the same direction. Alone, each moves forward. Together, they accelerate. Emotionally and financially, that's the shift ahead. Shared momentum, aligned goals, resources moving with intention instead of reaction. You might also notice how the world starts responding differently to you. You're seen as more established, more credible, more grounded. That's not coincidence. When your internal structure stabilizes, your external life reorganizes to match it. Another quote worth sitting with. When your foundation is solid, everything you build lasts longer. That applies to love, work, reputation, and direction. Big changes are ahead, not because you're chasing them, but because you're ready to hold them. This next chapter will redefine how you're perceived, how you move, and what you allow into your life. You're not entering something fragile, you're entering something powerful. If this message spoke to you, don't let it end here. Press the like button if you haven't already, not for approval, but to help this reach others who are quietly realizing they're built differently too. And if you're not part of this family yet, make sure to press the subscribe button and stay connected. What we share here isn't surface-level noise. It's clarity, strength, and truth for people who move with depth. Stay with us. More is coming, and you're exactly where you're meant to be.